Up a little bit more. A little bit more. Oh. How we doing? We'll talk about that. But before I talk about that, did you know we gave a 10-year-old $10,000 to trade options? And we're teaching him how to trade it on this YouTube channel. The link's down below because, you know, when you start a new YouTube channel and you're not very big, it's nearly impossible to look up the channel. He sucks at thumbnails. He's learning to edit. We're trying to teach his kids so they can help him because he's a bit of a boomer, but it's really great content, you know? And if you're watching this, you're not here to watch some A-tier YouTuber. You're here to make money. And that's what will help you do. So now let's address the elephant in the room. Josh, why has there been no weekly report? Well, the last video I did was perfect video for like the last week and a half. There was nothing to really update. Patience is a weapon, and that's what I've been exercising. I really have not been trading a lot. And for those of you who are in the Discord, you know I'm constantly giving updates. Even when the market's dull like this, you know, I still do a daily recap of all the trades we've done. Still making some trades, but not a lot. I mean, look, this is like one trade a day. And last week was really shoddy. I think it was like, it might have been the worst week of the year. If not, there's like a tie between 2 weeks of the year that were really rough for me. I think it was like a 52% win rate. Overall, after the 2 bad weeks, we still have an 82% win rate for the entire year. Still way up there. Still best of the best. But it was really shoddy for me, so I was taking it slow. And so far this week, we haven't missed a single trade. Okay, and that's been about being as strict as possible, okay? And of course, even if I'm delayed on YouTube video, if you want the daily or real-time, you know, information, you need to check out the link down below and join the Discord. That's what this is for. This is just when I think there has been major changes in the market, which I do think there has been, and so let's talk about it. So the last weekly report, we talked about what caused the selling, which was the carry trade unwinding, okay? And I said it was a good time to be patient because the selling might not be done, because it takes time for these traders to unwind those positions. Market bounce back, they unwind them some more, right? A very mechanical thing that happens in the market. People have to sell names they even like because they're basically getting margin called on the other side of the trade. Go watch the video for the full description of that. But now the market's been really supportive, okay? And it looks like we're heading into a 5-wave pattern. This is something else that I called out for Discord members that kind of broke down. Like, this is the bullish outcome that we need to be watching for, and it looks like we're getting all the signals for that, right? If we look at the 10-year yields, they've come back down, and this is something that's important to watch because every time you hit about 5%, the market likes to take a big puke. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Every time we start to creep up there, market pukes again. But this has come back down, which is supportive. If we look at the VIX is below 17. Okay, it's come down a lot from that previous rally that we had. Okay, so this is now supportive of a market that doesn't have as much fear. And remember, this is the realized fear, right? There's lots of speculations on things we should be worried about, but this is why we do technical analysis, so we find a nice balance between the fundamentals and between the price action, right? Because I don't want to just take my bearish fundamentals and fight the market and just get slaughtered on the puts. What's the point of that? No, I want to have my technicals set so that I don't get, you know, absolutely bludgeoned by the market. So so we can also look at the JPY and we can see that it's come down a lot, right? And remember, when this rises is what causes the trades to get explode, right? But the Bank of Japan came out, said they were going to try to do their best not to hike when the markets are unstable. This still looks like instability to me, so I don't see any highs coming on. And in fact, looking at the market and looking at the price action, looking at things that are moving, growth has been strong. We're seeing on the CPI prints that there's deflation with strong stocks. It can happen, right? It's a bit odd of an environment that doesn't really favor tech as much as it favors value names. And that's exactly what we're seeing, right? And remember, some people say, oh, inflation is still really high, right? But when we talk about inflation or deflation, we're talking about the direction of it in the short term, right? The inflation is down, even though still technically over a longer time frame it's still up, right? Directionally right now we're in deflation, and I don't expect that to be persistent. In fact, I expect that to die off at September, maybe October. I think it's just a lull that I don't think will persist. So remember, the best way to hedge against inflation is stocks. So I think the market is kind of also aware of that. I think it's pretty obvious that the inflation issues are pretty structural. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind when we're talking about this environment. It looks like those carry trades are coming back on. It looks like the market is bullish. We had the 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3 right there. All right, that's a perfect WXY. We got a good wave 1, 2, good retracement. We can draw our fib extensions to look for the 1.618 for the third wave. That would bring us to about 553. That's what I'm targeting right now. If we look at the futures are melting up right now. So it's looking like we're going to get another gap up tomorrow, and the market's going to continue to be supportive. One of my favorite plays right now for recovery has been CrowdStrike. And if you watch my previous videos, I was a buyer here at like 280, maybe even a little bit higher than that, and I ate a ton of pain. But I was buying all the way down. I even bought after the bounce. So right now, I'm actually slightly green, finally, on this very painful buy. And we have some earnings coming up. Now, I do expect that maybe we could see that we've lost, some of the clients from CrowdStrike, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as the market is saying, right? This thing melted from 400 to 200. It literally did a 50% retracement. But we saw how many clients they had, okay? Largest IT blackout in the world. That's a lot of clients. That's a lot of business. And if you know about the integration that CrowdStrike has with Microsoft, it is a nightmare to move away from CrowdStrike. So I see this as a golden opportunity. It's cheap comparative to the other members of its sector. All right, cheaper than those, and it's the leader. It doesn't make any sense, right? So there are other companies that they can go to, but the integration with Microsoft is key for the story of what a moat would look like for CrowdStrike, and why I still like the name. So I'm gonna be a buyer here, and it's starting to play out. And I think this thing could bounce back up to 300 before you know it. And this next earnings will be really important. I'm very interested to see what kind of information we get there. I have turned this position into one of my core positions in my account. So I do have a sizable CrowdStrike position at this point. So it's one of the largest names I own. Of course, not as big as Tesla, which has been exhausting to manage, to say the least. I've been sitting in puts. We bought some calls this week, made some more money back. I am only slightly down after all this pain because I went in so heavy on puts, especially after our trade broke. Wave 4 shouldn't trend into wave 1. So this needs to be redone. And as you can see, I'm just keeping track of all these wedges, all these parallel channels, and I'm doing short-term analysis and kind of watching these key levels. Okay, so this is still a very tradable stock, and we still have catalysts coming up in the future, and the fundamentals here haven't changed at all. And until fundamentals change, I'm not really willing to sell, especially since I was a buyer back here. So I'm still up, even when this thing went all the way to 182, I was still up. So I'm fine holding this, and I've been using options to manage my positions. I've been sharing that in the Discord as well. Still like Tesla. What's really carrying my portfolio at the moment is TLT, which still looks really strong. We got a deeper retracement than I expected, but on the bounce back came in and averaged in some calls after we reclaimed the multi-year wedge that we've been playing for a while. The daily here still looks really strong to me, and the weekly does as well. I think we're still in a bull market for TLT, and I don't think it's reached overbought conditions. I have very long dated contracts that expire next May. These were up like 100%. Right now, they're still up like 60% after my averaging. We're looking very solid there. The one thing that I have been doing some selling on that's also been really strong is gold. I've had some long calls on gold. I'm still bullish on gold, but we can see that the weekly is getting a bit weak. Lower highs on the weekly RSI. We can see the TTMs melting down. We can see we're kind of struggling to break that new high. Looks like some of the momentum's being pulled out. So into the selling today, I took some profits there, but I am going to keep this position open just because I still think it's such a good macro trade. If this thing wants to take intermediate breaths on the way to pushing to new highs, that's fine. I'll just continue to manage my position sizing along the way, right? So this is another position that isn't quite elite, but I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 months out, but it's a multi-month time frame that I have there. Now let's talk about China. I know the data out of China has been terrible. The economy's been really lagging. If you go out and watch my prediction for this year, I thought China might be a good buying opportunity. In the beginning of the year, it was actually really profitable to trade names like Baba. It's been one of my best trades this year. It's actually going long on Baba. But we've seen that it's come back down again. Now, I think there's going to be another opportunity coming in China. And what's important to watch here, I know the data is terrible, is actually one, how bad the data's gotten. Even the manipulated data is horrible. But then if we look at something like the US dollar, we can see it's melting down. This actually creates an environment where China can start to pump out some more stimulus to try and stimulate not only the economy, but also their stock market. So FXI looks really interesting to me. Right about here, I almost set up some BABA, but I don't want to trade BABA into their earnings. So that earnings report will come out tomorrow morning. That will likely cause a dip, as it has for like the past 8 earnings reports. Even when the earnings report is good and it gets a pop, it gets sold right off, right? And you don't really make money on that. Just kills you on the premiums. The implied volatility just gets sucked right out of the contract. So I'll be waiting for this earnings report to come out. And then I'll likely set up some positions here and look for that stimulus pump. I think it's a really solid trade. I think it's an extremely high probability that we can start to get bullish on some Chinese names. However, I still just see it as a trade. I don't see China as an investment. I don't really want to be in China as a long-term investment, honestly, with such a deflationary population. I think they have too many things that they have to try and resolve. Others might disagree, and they might say, hey, Josh, that's something that occurs over a multi-decade time frame. And you know what? You might be right. It might be a great time to buy China. When everyone's saying, stay away, it's the worst it could ever get. And that actually usually is a signal of a bottom. What's even more of a signal of a bottom when people say it's over for them and it'll never recover. That's also a pretty big bottom signal, right? Just like when people were saying, oh, the bond market's going to be bearish for 20 years. To me, that was a big buy signal, right? And that was back when TLT was, I think, in the low 80s. So that's another thing that has my attention right now. The other thing we should probably talk about is Google losing this lawsuit, antitrust case against the DOJ, right? This mainly focused around web search and advertising markets. Okay, so this is actually bearish news for Apple and Samsung, okay, because Google pays, I think it's $20 billion to Apple a year to have the rights to do their advertising on Apple. I don't know how those payments are constructed, but I think that's what it comes out to every year. So that's a lot of revenue lost from Apple if Google gets forced off that as the default app to have on phones. Maybe people still use it. Maybe the same thing with Samsung to be the default app there. They pay big money as well. If those get taken off, that could hurt Google's market share. So this is more on my speculative side, right? So I was doing some speculating, and I was like, well, this could be an interesting opportunity if there was, by chance, some sort of other internet browser that people could use. And then I remembered that there is a really interesting crypto project called Basic Attention Token, and this revolves around the Brave browser. And the idea here is that when people watch ads, they actually get paid for watching the ads. Okay, so this really plays well into the attention economy narrative. All right, and I actually really like the idea. So it will block ads, but you can also say, hey, I'll see the ads, but get paid to see the ads, and you get paid in the Brave tokens. So that is really interesting concept to me. And maybe in the future, if we see these, Google get hammered with some big decisions from the Department of Justice, maybe even they get broken up. They get broken up, I buy YouTube hand over fist. I'm telling you that right now. Okay? YouTube puts the rest of the streaming platforms to shame. Everyone thinks Netflix is king. Netflix is second. Big gap. Okay? Second, third, fourth, fifth, first. YouTube. Okay? Huge difference. YouTube makes so much money, and they continue to grow. They're going to continue to grow. So that's really interesting. And we'll talk about Bitcoin real quick to wrap this up. I think this is noise. All right. To me, Bitcoin's neutral. This looks like chop. I know on the 1 minute it looks like kind of terrible, but you got to pan out to the 1 hour here and realize that we're still just in a chop zone. It's kind of melting down, but not really. It's basically neutral here. So I'm not really worried about this, and this is actually an environment where I've been buying up some Mara and getting a little bullish here. Hasn't really worked. Like slightly down and kind of averaging into some long dated calls here. But I can see on the weekly chart that we're starting to have some improvement on the technicals, right? It's still looking kind of bullish to me. Of course, when Bitcoin's weak, this is going to be even weaker. And same thing with Coinbase. Coinbase is a little bit easier to trade on time frames, and it's been a little bit more sturdy. So hey, pick what you want to pick. There'll be more upside on Mara, but Coin will be easier to trade. I still really like the miners. I really like trading them. I'm okay with the volatility, and so that's still been appealing to me because I'm seeing that both participants in the the presidential race are very bullish on crypto. So it's a race to see who could be more bullish. If Trump actually wins and adds crypto to the National Reserve, I'm not going to argue with you about whether that's a good decision. I'm just going to say that's going to be stupid bullish. Okay, that's going to be the most bullish catalyst we could possibly get because everyone's going to front run that, including other countries who might be major buyers. So, if Bitcoin gets to 100K, everyone's going to load it up again. We really haven't hit the peak euphoria. Bitcoin also truly hasn't even hit a new high if you start to, calculate inflation into this time period, right? It's really not at a new high. So, we haven't hit the euphoria. I know it looks like the price is really high, it's going to crash, but really it's still in a recovery phase, and it has been, since, what would that be, bottom of 2023? We're still in this recovery phase looking for the new all-time high. So, in real terms, this is still not that great, but it's getting better. So I'm actually, because of all of that, also getting more active in the altcoins, shitcoins, coins, not co's. And so SUI is one that I bought a while ago. I was up I think 60% at one point, hopping into this name. We can see that the technicals actually still look really great here. We're seeing a pullback from the highs. And this thing looks really strong. And it's really interesting to me. I noticed pretty early on that this thing's outperforming pretty much every single other altcoin I look at. What's the story here? I can't really fully flesh it out with you. This was originally created by Meta and then sold to Silicon Valley Bank, which then blew up. Which you might say, well, that's a terrible story. But what bank was willing to buy a crypto? What makes this one special? No one else is buying crypto coins from other companies. So I think they saw something. And I think this could be an interesting name. Just based off the technicals, I'm willing to throw some money at it, see how it plays out. So far, been fantastic. Trade still looks good. So I'm also buying up other crypto coins. I'm starting to get active here, and I haven't been active in the crypto space for a long time. People when they join the Discord have been asking me, "Oh, do you do any crypto?" I don't. Well, we have been. So, you want to come talk to us about that? Check out the link down below. That's going to be it for this week's report, though. I think we dumped a lot of information. This is already getting pretty long, so I'll let you guys go. I'll probably do some live streaming on Friday. That sounds like a good idea. So I'll talk to you then. And as always, God bless.